There we go. I am now fully recording the first official episode of whatever the hell this becomes.
Two white dudes talking about movies. How about
Yeah,
that?
that's a great title. That's a great.
All right. So, unfortunately, we did not record our last talk about the first movie we decided to watch, which was John Wick.
Yeah,
Is it just called John Wick, or is it John Wick Chapter 1?
I think it's just called John Wick, or I know it's just called John Wick.
Yeah, okay. So, this time, this was my pick. And I decided I thought we could watch a good old classic movie. Well, it's not that classic because it's not that old. A little movie called Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah, I was skeptical because I had heard about like all these like Once Upon a Time movies. I believe that's an entire like subgenre of movies. So
Probably.
I was skeptical because I know there's Once Upon a Time in the West, Once Upon a Time in China, Once Upon a Time in India. So there's like a plethora of movies.
But then you found out that a man by the name of Quentin Tarantino directed this movie.
Yeah, exactly. So
I had obviously seen it and you had not. I want to hear from you first, since you were the one who'd never seen it.
yeah. So for starters, with like positives, I really enjoyed the direction of the movie, of this being like a in-universe movie of like movie making, and how that can be affected on like actors, and like there was a scene between Leonardo DiCaprio and Timothy Olyphant where they were talking, and I forgot that was a movie within a movie. I thought for a second there that was actually happening.
So yes, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is always a cool thing to see. It's a movie about movies. Like a movie about any movie that are based off things that have actually happened is interesting. But this movie is not that. It has people that were real in it, but like that's why it's called Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because a lot of the characters are real, but a lot of them are not.
Exactly. That's and I feel like that's really interesting. You sort of get lost in the movie.
Mm-hmm. So a little backstory. So this, so far, I believe is Tarantino's latest movie. I could be wrong.
It is. It is. He's bound to direct one final movie, which I believe was started and then like ended for like he scrapped the idea, and I believe there was talks about Tom Holland starring too.
Oh,
But
that'd be great.
he's gonna do one final movie, which I believe was titled The Movie Critic.
That should be interesting.
Then I feel like he wants it to be perfect. I feel like that's the final, because it's gonna be his final sort of moment.
Big, yeah. So, and also, this is also the first and so far only movie that did not involve the Weinsteins.
And thank God for that. Yo, fuck those dudes.
Yeah, fuck this dude. Yeah.
Especially because Henry Weinstein, or was it Bob Weinstein? One of those fuckers.
Harvey Weinstein is the bigger of the two, and
yeah, he's in jail. He's in jail right now, I think.
He should.
Yeah, he is.
But good. So, I mean, yeah, you talk about positives. This is a Tarantino movie. This dialogue's gonna be great. You just know that going in. I mean, this is Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt, directed by Quentin Tarantino.
All stars are aligning.
Mm-hmm. So it's interesting, like, because DiCaprio plays an actor, and then Brad Pitt plays his stunt double.
Yeah.
And I always thought it was interesting because I mean, out of the two, I think Brad Pitt looks more handsome. I mean, not to say here, but
Yeah, exactly.
well, it's just I mean, I always thought, oh, if the roles were reversed, it could have worked. So, I mean, let's talk about Leonardo DiCaprio's character real quick. So, what is his name? Rick Dalton.
Rick Dalton. Rick Dalton.
Rick Dalton. So Rick Dalton is a aging like movie star, or it was a show, right? What was it called? Bounty Law.
Yeah, he was the star of that one. Yeah.
Star, and it was a show, but then that show ended sometime, and then now he's just trying to find work wherever he can. And because what was the big job he got in the movie? It was another Western. And he was the bad guy, was he not?
Yeah, he was the bad guy. And that was the movie, or like, the movie within the movie he was filming with Timothy Olyphant.
Mm-hmm.
And that dude's also pretty great. Like, I recently watched Justified.
Oh, yeah?
And that stars him, and he plays like this sort of Western dude in that, so he has had like 6 years of practice of playing this Western or this character. I mean, that might as well have been Raylan Givens right there.
And so that's DiCaprio's, and then Brad Pitt's character.
I feel like that character's more interesting.
He is definitely more interesting. There's definitely, because, well, we find out later, there's kind of a mystery about him.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Do you think he killed his wife?
Yes.
Alright. So, I found out, so Tarantino actually wrote a novelization, like a book version of, like a book of this movie. And in the book, spoilers to who's never read this book, but the book does describe, like, he did kill his wife. He harpooned her.
Damn.
Yep, and that's something. And so unlike Rick, what was Brad Pitt's character's name?
I am gonna look that up. It's gonna take 3 seconds.
I mean, if you guys can't tell, we're just movie experts. We're like the top of our game here, right?
Cliff Booth.
Cliff. Okay, Cliff Booth. So he is a stunt double, and he's not really much of a stunt double anymore. He's more of Rick's, like, just personal assistant,
personal friend.
Yeah, literally. But he seems to be okay with it. He's just chilling. Gets to drive nice cars,
Exactly. I feel like he's still looking for something, like a purpose in life, other than that too.
And then probably the next big character in this movie is somebody who actually existed. So Margot Robbie, love her, plays Sharon Tate.
Sharon Tate. Who was she was killed by
we'll get to that here in a second. So Sharon Tate was an actress. She had starred in a few movies, and she was also, I don't think she was the wife. She was the lover of director Roman Polanski, who was also in this movie.
He's also Jerkhead, like the actual Roman Polanski is also like.
Oh yeah, he's
a pretty bad dude.
I mean, isn't he a fugitive of the law?
Yeah, he fled to France and he keeps living out his days there. He's like 90.
So yeah, he ended up turning up. So he ended up being a pretty gnarly bad dude too. But so he was. So him and Sharon Tate were they married? Because she was like seeing more than one. It was Roman, and there was that other guy.
Oh yeah, at the party. Like, that guy was explaining everything.
Yes. And so what you just brought up. So this movie also has the Manson family, Charles Manson, and I feel like most people will know who that is. You know, Charles Manson, the serial killer, cult leader.
Yeah.
And so and then the story goes, well, it's not a story, it's real life. He convinced his followers, who were a lot of them were teenagers, all of them were hippies. They were all runaways, drug addicts, and he convinced them that, hey, there's going to be there was going to be a race war. And we got to do this to start it, and we're going to, be ready. Because, Charles Manson's, I'm this, I'm that, and that. So it was those four. And in real life, they go, so one of them, so it was that four. So what the movie actually did, so that scene where the girl like, oh, I gotta go back to the car, I forgot something. That I believe that actually happened. One of them actually did ditch.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you're right. There was a party. It was Sharon Tate, the one dude, I don't remember any of their names. There was a woman there. She was the heiress of. Have you ever had Folger coffee?
Don't think so. No.
It's like a big, at least maybe it's just here in America. It's a big like coffee brand. They sell like the coffee in like big red like circular tubs.
Yeah.
And that's really big. And so she was like the daughter of the guy who founded it or who was in charge of it. I believe her last name was Folger, or at least was at one point. Mm-hmm. She was there, and just a bunch of Sharon Tate's friends were. And then they came in. And basically murdered everybody, including Sharon Tate, who was unfortunately pregnant at the time too.
That's awful.
Mm-hmm. And so interestingly, so we're getting towards the end of the movie. So obviously, the movie, so this is how the movie, like the characters kind of interact with actual historical events. So Rick is at home with his new Italian wife, and he notices them pull up, and he's had a few margaritas. He goes, "What the hell are you doing bringing this hunk of crap over here at midnight?" Yelling at him, talking mad shit. And then they drive away, and they're like, "Wait, that was Rick Dalton and Jake Cahill," because that was the name of his character in the show. Like, hey, why don't we go kill him? But then, I mean, you saw the movie, and then what happens next?
Yeah, they go back to the freaking place, and then Cliff, out of all people, just standing there, and they
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, and then they like go in and they attempt to kill him because they want to kill the dudes they taught them how to kill, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So they go in there and he's drunk, he's high after having smoked.
Yep.
And then he goes back and they're all laughing, and he's like just pointing a finger gun at them. And then he gets his dog to attack these burglars, which they became. And then I love that scene. I feel like that entire sequence is quite possibly my favorite sequence because it's just so wild.
Knowing what actually happened in real life and getting to watch these awful, horrible people get just desserts on screen, knowing what they would have done, in real life, it was definitely enjoyable to watch. So, do you remember when he goes like, "Hey, I remember you," and he's like, "Your name was," he was talking to Tex Watson.
Yeah.
And then Tex says, "I'm the devil, and I'm here to do the devil's business." He actually said that when they were, committing the Tate murders. Like, they asked him who he was or why were you doing this, and he actually did say, "I'm the devil, and I'm here to do the devil's business."
Yeah.
So that was an actual quote from that. But then, since he's like, "No, that was dumber than that. Your name was like Rex or something." It was okay. It was also really cool just to see a lot of younger guys in this movie. I mean, who was playing Tex? Tex Watson here.
Do you want me to look it up?
Oh no, I know who it is. It's Mr. Austin Butler.
Austin Butler. Yeah, I didn't know that.
That was that was Austin Butler, and he ended up playing like what was he in Elvis? I believe he was in one of the Dune movies. He's been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
The girl with like the pale face who got a can thrown at her. She she was in Scream 5.
I don't know.
Well, I know you haven't seen the Scream movie, so I can't really spoil it. So we're gonna say that for later, boys and girls, maybe for Halloween or something. And then the movie ends. I mean, we just went to the end. So yes, there's so many great things about this movie. So another thing I want to get into is what do you think was probably the most controversial part about this movie?
The most controversial part?
There was a part in this movie that did get some people upset.
Was it the theater when Sharon Tate goes into the theater?
No, it was not that. It has to do with somebody that actually existed.
Charles Manson?
Not Charles Manson.
I feel so stupid now. I don't remember.
It was the Bruce Lee scene.
Ah.
Let's talk about that scene. So this is when, like, I don't remember. So it was Kurt Russell's character who was like in charge of like props, or at least his wife was. He begrudgingly gives Cliff a job as a stunt person.
Yeah.
And who's working on this movie? Mr. Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee himself.
And I want you to guess why people were upset. Some people, not everybody was. And actually, Bruce Lee's daughter talked about how she didn't like it.
You mean the fact that he lost the fight so easily?
So that, and just how they portrayed him. Because in the movie, they portrayed him as being an arrogant dickhead.
Yeah.
I mean, they portrayed him as being a prick. And the fact that he basically kind of lost that fight against Cliff. That they didn't like how they portrayed Bruce Lee. So interestingly, Quentin Tarantino was on the Joe Rogan Experience one time, and they talked about it. And Tarantino was like, I can understand his daughter having a problem with it. Everyone else can, like, eat a dick.
Yeah, Quentin don't take no bullshit. He just...
Well, it's kind of... Because, we think of Bruce Lee today as being this larger-than-life, legendary person, right? I mean, the dude was like... I mean, not only was he a good actor, he was a legendary kung fu fighter.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever he did, what was it, martial art he did, he was the best at it.
Didn't he do, like, jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, jiu-jitsu, something like that. Shows you how much I know. But it's like, there were, like, stunt people that hated him. Because he would actually hurt them. And he was just like, oh, you're just being pussies, I mean, if you're trying to make it look real, we should make it do it real, right? Don't you think? Well, yeah. Like, stuntman gets hurt. I mean, he can't perform stunts. How's he supposed to work?
That's a great dilemma, actually, because your job is literally you putting yourself at risk. And when you can't do that anymore, you literally can't do your job. Because you can't do it mentally. You have to be there. Right.
And then, the other part is when he, gets fooled by, Cliff, and then Tarantino was like, that's like asking me, if you think Bruce Lee would lose a fight to Dracula. I mean, Cliff was not a real, he's not a real person. I mean, Tarantino can make him however he wants. I mean, and they describe, I mean, he was in the army. He was in like World War II, was he not?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
he knows about combat.
Well, isn't that the beauty of movie making? Like, you're in charge. You decide what happens.
Yeah, right? It's just another thing. And so that was probably the most controversial part of that movie. But just seeing, like, because, you see, like, Steve McQueen. You see Cass Elliot. I mean, we get a cameo from Charles Manson.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So was there any other scenes that you liked?
I kinda like the scene, that whole sequence out in the middle of button fucking nowhere in the desert. Where with the Cliff also, when he's like, talking to Tex. When he's talking to the dude, and then he gets out, and then like just beats the crap out of a dude and forces him to fix the tire.
Part was great.
I feel like that.
So that. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like that scene is interesting, like to showcasing his character and his sort of moral dilemma on how to sort of fix things about going through with violence and like I own you. Like, I need you to fix this for me. I'm not gonna do this. You deserve this. I feel like that sorta makes sense.
It's just like with Cliff's character. I mean, he's a chill, cool dude. He's friendly. He gets along with people, but I mean, he can fuck some shit up, when he needs to. And that. So interestingly, I wanted to bring up. So like when they go to that ranch was also real too. Like, they actually did, like, that guy who was, like, that old dude, that was real. Like, the guy was blind, probably a little demented, and they basically stayed on that ranch, basically for free.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? You're a runaway, you're not even 20, you're staying with a bunch of people you just met, and you don't call them their actual first names, you call them, like, I don't know, Squiggles or Sunshine or, stupid names like that.
Yeah.
And you just smoke weed and hate everything outside.
Literally just existing for the sake of existing.
Literally.
I mean, he might as well be dead, honestly. Like, there's no such life for that dude, honestly.
But yeah, it's just like, I'm so glad because you told me you were pleasantly surprised how much you liked this movie.
Yeah, I did, and from start to finish, you go on a journey. From like, you see these characters develop, you see the relationship with Cliff and Rick. So I feel like their chemistry is what sort of builds this entire movie. It's always nice to watch a movie with like acclaimed actors, like doing what they're best at, and with a awesome director as Quentin. I feel like all stars are aligning with that one. Like, and there's so much memorable sequence as you like forget which ones you want to talk about, because like the ending to that burglary from the ending, where that chick is literally just screaming like crazy, like just running around. That was actually kinda horrifying.
Right.
And then Rick goes in and like just flamethrowers her.
Which was like something from a movie that he did, right?
Yeah, he was living that character all over again. I feel like that was probably the most entertaining part. And it was also the most gory part.
Hell yeah, just like, what? I mean, she got her face caved in, she got chewed on by a dog, and then she ran through a window, landed in the pool, and they got burned to death.
Yeah, they're tortured. That's torture for you, like seriously. And that might be just me, the gore hound in me, but I do like some great special effects.
Like I bring this up, I keep bringing this up, but just knowing what happened in real life, you're just like, yeah, that feels justified. What those people actually did to those people.
It makes the killing and like dismemberment and torture more enjoyable when there's actual people you freaking hate.
Hmm.
I feel like that it makes it more justified to enjoy it, other than when it's like just naked teens running around.
Right. But this was such a good movie. Way to go, me, for
Yeah,
picking
way
such
to
an.
go, way to go.
All right.
Yeah,
Cool.
you.
So, out of 10, what would you give this movie?
So I rate every single movie I watch on IMDb, so I can just take that score. I'll give this an
Okay.
8 out of 10, because I really like this movie.
Okay. I think I'd give it maybe an 8.5 or a 9.
Yeah? You would go 9?
I think I would go 9.
Because if you look at the IMDb rating system, like a 9 is extremely freaking rare. I believe there's only like 4 movies that have a 9.
What would those movies be?
I know.
Wait, I want to hear those.
It's Shawshank Redemption. It's The Godfather. It's The
Fair.
Godfather Part 2, and it's The Dark
Fair.
Knight.
Fair. All right. Yeah, those are all fair.
Yeah, I really like this movie.
I'd probably give it an 8.5 then. I'd give
Yeah.
it an 8.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you liked it. It was fun to rewatch it again.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was fun to see, because whenever I think of Margot Robbie, I mean, at least for me as a comic book fan, I think of Harley Quinn.
Yeah, I
But
feel
just
like
to
I feel
just
like
to see,
Margot Robbie. I don't know what else she's done. I know she did Barbie and Harley Quinn. Those are the
and
two things I know.
she was in a movie called, I believe she was in I, Tonya. That was like her big movie, like her
Yeah.
big break. That was about, let me see, I want to make sure that it really was Margot Robbie. Yeah, it was Margot Robbie.
It was.
It was about Tanya Harding.
I don't know what that is.
She was, so we'll probably save that movie for a long time, but she was like an American ice skater.
Yeah.
She was within, so she ended up getting banned from the ice league because they believe that she hired her and her boyfriend hired some goons to break this other lady's legs so she wouldn't compete.
Damn, that's harsh.
Tanya Harding's story is crazy. So we'll save that. We'll save that for another time. But
For another time in the future. Those who live get to see.
yeah, just to see Margot Robbie just play someone like Sharon Tate, and that's just this whole thing. They show Sharon Tate in this movie so innocently. I mean, she goes to watch her movies. She goes around, she's just having fun.
And knowing what happens to her in real life, it makes it more devastating.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So I think that's one in the books, don't you think?
Yeah, that's one of the books, and definitely one of Quentin's better ones.
Definitely. I think we've had this conversation before. I told you this is probably my favorite Tarantino movie. And you told me you still give it to Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, I still give it to Pulp Fiction. But
I love Pulp Fiction.
Yet again, I haven't seen a bunch of Tarantino movies. Tarantino.
Okay. So have you seen Django?
No.
Oh, then. Oh, you're going to have. You in particular might find that movie a little interesting.
Yeah. Why is that?
You'll find out when we watch it one day.
I know that in Inglorious Bastards, I know Eli Roth's in it. And Eli Roth is like famous horror director.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. I don't know why I said it. I just felt the need to say it. But in the next episode, we're actually going to be watching
John Wick Chapter 2?
Yeah, exactly.
Alright, we're going back to John Wick.
Back to John Wick, and what's interesting about this one is that I do believe that this is the movie that literally it's John Wick's breakthrough movie, because the first one is the first one, standard action movie, carried the hell by John Wick, and then I believe the second movie was the one everyone cites at the best, alongside Part 4.
Okay. Alright.
So that's gonna be fun to talk about.
So it's like a T2 situation?
Yeah.
This will be fun.
This will be extremely fine, Mr. Hearn.
Alright, Mr. Heed.
Hell yeah.
Yes, sir.
So we will see you in the next one. See ya!